Hello. So I wanted to make a video for anyone that might be struggling, that has just found out that they're pregnant and now they don't know what to do at this crossroads between abortion or adoption and actually having the baby. I've been through both scenarios, about nearly 10 years apart, but hopefully that my insight can maybe help at least one person get through a really scary and really hard time. So I'll start with my abortion story, I guess. But I was 15. I had been dating that person for about a year. We, we found out really early on, and it was almost like an instantaneous reaction for me. The guy that I was with wasn't someone I would have wanted to have kids with, and I wasn't someone that should have been bringing kids into this world. I was really young. I was still growing up myself, and it just didn't seem like there was any option outside of abortion. I went to a Catholic high school, and I had seen a girl that was pregnant already go through tremendous struggles and judgment and ridicule because she was pregnant and was on campus and all that stuff. So I knew that the adoption route wasn't going to be, I guess, to be frank, easy for me. So I decided to have an abortion, and I was so early along. I think I was like 5 weeks at the time of the actual procedure. And we didn't know that it was that early on. So when I got to the clinic that day, they told me that I would go home. I wasn't going to have the procedure. I would go home and take a pill. And the pill is essentially like Plan B, I think. I'm not telling anyone to take Plan B if you're pregnant. Go through the proper steps if you do want to have an abortion. Seek out an abortion clinic and do it the right way. But it was a pill that essentially started your period, and then the mass of cells at that time, it was a baby, but it was just a mass of cells. It literally looked like a cyst. But I went home, I took the pill as instructed, and that night I had in really intense cramps. I remembered passing it, and it was emotional for me because I saw, the cyst-looking massive cells that would have grown into a baby. And a lot of people think that abortion is kind of the easy way out, and you could just go get it taken care of, and it's over with and it's done and you never have to think about it again. But that's really not the case. For me and for a lot of other women that I know that have gone through abortion, it's very traumatic. It has year-long effects. It's, after being on both sides of the coin, I definitely don't think it's the easy way out. I think it's the harder way. That's at least how my scenario was. And it was really challenging, and I didn't truly heal from it until I had my son, Nilo. And so I guess I can start talking about that part of the story. But I was with my partner now for 10 months at the time when we found out that we were pregnant. I took a pregnancy test just kind of for shits and giggles. I didn't actually think that it was going to be positive. I just was like, oh, I'm a day late on my period. I have this extra pregnancy test laying around. I'll just take it and it's going to be negative. And it was actually positive. And I had an instant panic attack. I called my best friend, and she just kept telling me to breathe so I could, talk to her and let her know what was happening. And eventually I talked to my partner about it, and our story's a little complicated. him and a few of his siblings are adopted, so for him, abortion wasn't really like a route that he wanted to go, and he didn't want to partake in that. And for me, it was a completely different scenario than 10 years earlier. I was 24 at this time. I guess I was 14. No, I was 15. But I was 24. This time I found out I was pregnant. I had a good job. I had just been promoted to a manager position. It was at a dispensary, but, still a manager. And I felt relatively stable in my, money. I was supporting myself financially. So was my partner. And there were still a lot of obstacles. I'm not gonna lie. The road to abortion versus going through with pregnancy. There's gonna be struggles either way. Either way is gonna be really hard. But I think that the abortion route is full of a lot more darkness than the other route. Pregnancy is incredibly hard. At least it was for me. It just takes everything out of you. It's like you're on your period for 10 months. Pregnancy is 10 months. 40 weeks is 10 months. And if it's your first baby, you will probably go to 40 weeks. I'm saying a lot, but sorry. I'm trying to just think of anything else that might help someone in this predicament. For me, it was really having the partner that I had and who was willing. I told him, if we're going to do this, it's going to be a 50-50 thing. It's going to be both of us putting in our blood, sweat, and tears and really working on it and being good parents and being parents that a child deserves to have. And that's luckily what I got. With that said, we were only dating 10 months. And we definitely had a lot of struggles in our relationship, but it also has, now that our child's nearly a year old, it's really brought us to a very beautiful place in our relationship because we got through those struggles well. My best friend has training in counseling, so I would highly suggest. We didn't have to go to a counselor because of my best friend and her counseling abilities. But if you are in this predicament and, you go through with the pregnancy and have the baby, I highly, highly suggest that once you're out of that 4th trimester, when the baby's like 4 months old, that you go see a marriage counselor. Even if you're not married, it doesn't matter. It's still a marriage or still a partnership or whatever. I highly suggest that so that you can both see patterns that you're emitting that aren't necessarily healthy. Being financially stable really helps, and I'm still living paycheck to paycheck, but being able to make ends meet, and it's not going to be easy, but you just make it work, and if you're committed to making it work, then it's going to work for you. I think that, and as hard as pregnancy was, and even as hard as just parenting is, it's nonstop. You get home from work and then you are on. You're on until your kid goes to sleep, and you're on when they wake up in the middle of the night, and you're on at 5 a.m. when they are up, and you now have to get up for the day and do it all over again. It's really hard. It's incredibly exhausting, but when you see your kid smile at you, or just little moments that you have with this being, it just makes it so worth it. And that's why I say that the road to abortion is filled with a lot more dark, because you don't have those moments of just complete blissed out love with not only your baby but your partner too, because you guys created this thing together, and it has the potential to blossom into something really amazing. It also has the potential to blossom or to not blossom, and go down a really bad path if you're not really careful and you don't work on it every single day. So if you're not prepared emotionally to work on something, neither path is going to be for you, but the abortion route, it's really only your darkness that you're sitting in. I think that for some people, the partner is going to have a little bit of darkness, but I think it just, when it's your body and the guilt ultimately is on you because it was your choice. So I think that the abortion route is just full of a lot more darkness, and it truly, for me, didn't heal until it was about 9 years after, and I also had a child, and then that healed it for me. So yeah, and I was trying to think of anything else that might help anybody, but I think if you're in this scenario, you really have to go inward and listen to what's right for you. You can't listen to outside sources. You cannot think of, if you're fortunate enough to have a dad in your life, you can't think of, oh my God, he's going to be so mad. Or if it's your mom or your siblings or anyone in your family, you're worried about them judging you. You can't think of that. You have to put yourself first. You have to put you and this other life, first. And I can't really speak on the adoption route because I haven't actually been through that myself. So that's why I'm only talking about these two paths here, but adoption is a route that you could pursue. Just from my family situation, my partner, his mom, the 3 kids that she adopted, none of them were through, an adoption agency. She just found out of them. One was at the dentist office, one was, through a mutual friend. So if that is the path that you want to go through and you're thinking you don't have enough money for that, or whatever the situation may be, it doesn't have to be through an agency. It could be through just divine workings, and you just never know. You never know what's going to be. But again, if you're in this scenario, I wish you a lot of peace. I wish you, you really have to sit in meditation, or just silence. Silence is another word for meditation. You really have to sit and think about where you want your life to go. And you really have to think about the work that you're willing to put in. Both routes are going to be full of work. It's just very different. And one of those routes has payoffs, and then the other one, abortion, doesn't really have a ton of payoffs other than you don't have a kid, but you just have this looming darkness for years. That was my scenario with it. But yeah, I'm trying to just again think of anything else that might help someone. Definitely, sitting in silence, like I said, but also talking to a friend, or I know that on YouTube there's a lot of abortion videos, so that might help, or abortion story videos, and just trying to find resources. If you're on Instagram, look at people's Instagrams that are positive and uplifting and that are guides in this world. Don't just keep consuming having people in your feed that aren't lifting you up, because it's a time where you really need to be lifted up and you need to feel supported. One really helpful thing for me was crystals. I'm into crystals. I have been into crystals for a while. So for me, that one was awesome. Moonstone was my big one. I had called a woman, a coworker's girlfriend actually, who she had been in the same situation, and she recommended Moonstone to me, and I got a necklace with Moonstone the day after I found out I was pregnant, and I feel like it really helped me move through the situation. Yoga, even just if it's a child's pose or legs up the wall, just taking care of yourself. You know, drink tea, drink a ton of water, get sleep at night, eat correctly. Don't just like go to McDonald's because you don't have time or whatever. Like, look on Pinterest, look up a dinner recipe on YouTube. Like, make the effort to invest in your self-care because you're going to need it at this time. It's not an easy time in life at all, and if you're there for yourself and you're supporting yourself, then that's going to be huge. But again, I hope that this video, just even if it helps one person going through this really scary dilemma and really just terrifying time, I hope it can bring you some sort of peace. And thanks for listening.